The story behind Heartbreak Hotel by Elvis Presley and how it was inspired by a suicide note, or was it? Many people thought that rock and roll was only a craze when RCA Victor paid $40,000 to acquire Elvis Presley's recording contract from Sam Phillips and Sun Records in 1955. Everywhere he performed, this Memphis, Tennessee flash in the pan was starting to create a stir. But most adults thought this new musical trend would only last a short while. It was difficult to picture Presley and the Blue Moon Boys blend of rhythm and blues and hillbilly country making a national impact while they were making waves in the South. Steve Scholes, the chief of RCA's country division, and Colonel Tom Parker, Presley's manager, had opposing opinions. Parker famously said to Presley, "You have $1 million worth of talent right now, son. You will have $1 million in a year." He was not mistaken. Let's examine the backstory of Elvis Presley's song, Heartbreak Hotel. Origin. Heartbreak Hotel was also written by Tommy Durden, who played steel guitar for the Florida band Smilin', Jack Herring and Swingbillies, disc jockey Glenn Reeves, and Mae Boren Axton, a publicist for vocalist Hank Snow, who was also under Colonel Tom Parker's management. After recording a demo of the song in Presley's manner, Reeves decided not to write credit because he didn't think the song would be successful. In exchange for a portion of the credit, Presley consented to record the song. The song was credited to Axton Durden Presley by the record label. "Well, since my baby left me, well, I found a new place to dwell. Well, it's down at the end of Lonely Street, at Heartbreak Hotel, where I'll be so lonely, baby. Well, I'm so lonely. I'll be so lonely. I could die." Inspiration. RCA pushed the notion that Durden was influenced by a Miami newspaper article about a guy who committed suicide by jumping from a hotel window and leaving a suicide note that said, "I walk a lonely street," when the song was first published. Additional research reveals no such news article. The narrative of painter-criminal Alvin Krolik was covered by Rolling Stone magazine in 2016. Krolik penned an unpublished autobiography that included the sentence, "This is the story of a person who walked a lonely street." In an unsuccessful robbery attempt close to El Paso, Texas, he was shot and died. The article was published in the El Paso Times on August 25, 1955, under the headline, "Story of Person Who Walked Lonely Street." Although it's always crowded, you still can find some room. 4 broken-hearted lovers to cry there in their gloom. They'll be so lonely, baby. They get so lonely. They're so lonely they could die. Their first session in Nashville. Presley recorded I Got a Woman and Heartbreak Hotel in the Nashville studio of RCA Victor on January 10, 1956. The young Memphis children were in another planet. Guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black were joined by guitarist Chet Atkins and pianist Floyd Kramer. Moore told Spencer Lee of the BBC in 2006 that the studio was bigger and more structured than Sun's. Everything was referred to by its tape number. Someone might say, "Let's try something." When we were eating hamburgers at Sunday, now the bellhop's tears keep flowing, and the desk clerks dressed in black. Well, they've been so long on Lonely Street. Well, they'll never look back. And they get so lonely, baby. Well, they are so lonely. They're so lonely they could die. Far Reach. Recording of Heartbreak Hotel was issued by RCA on January 27, 1956. After a period of 6 weeks, it emerged on the charts. According to the Billboard Hot 100, the song climbed to the top spot on the chart on May 5th and remained there for a total of 7 weeks. It was no longer a mystery. He had transcended the status of a mere provincial phenomenon. Not only was he introducing his music to young people in the United States, but he was also having an impact on aspiring rock musicians all around the world. As John Lennon recounted his experience of discovering the song in the Beatles anthology, he remarked, "When I first heard Heartbreak Hotel, I could hardly make out what was being said. The only thing that affected me was the sensation of hearing it, which caused my hair to stand on end. There had never been any American voices that sounded like that before. At all times, They sang in a Sinatra-like manner or enunciated quite clearly. All of a sudden, there is this hillbilly hiccuping on tape echo, and there's all of this bluesy sort of thing going on. Little Richard, Chuck Berry, and Elvis Presley were all singing about something that we had no idea what they were talking about. It was a very long time before we were able to figure out what was going on. To us, it simply sounded like a noisy thing that was quite enjoyable. It's so full of mystery, and it's never lost that for me. Paul McCartney revealed in an interview with the Sunday Times in the year 2005, "The echo is just breathtaking." In the course of recording with the Beatles, we frequently requested that producer George Martin provide us with the Elvis echo. Well, now, if your baby leaves you, and you got a tale to tell, well, just take a walk down Lonely Street to Heartbreak Hotel, where you will be. You will be lonely, baby. Well, you will be lonely. You'll be so lonely, you could die. Something so stark. In his autobiography titled Life, which was published in 2010, Keith Richards noted, "That was the first rock and roll I heard." This was a very new approach to delivering a song, a completely different sound, stripped down, without any bullshit, without any violins, and without any ladies' choruses and schmaltz. It was completely different. There were things that you had a feeling were there, but hadn't yet heard, and it was naked straight down to the essentials. In all honesty, I have to give Elvis a lot of credit. If you want to create something, you should not try to drown out the stillness, since it is your canvas, your frame, and what you work on. Just like that. Heartbreak Hotel had that effect on me. This was the very first time that I had ever heard something so brusque, although it's always crowded, but you still can find some room for broken-hearted lovers to cry there in their gloom, where they get so lonely, baby. Well, they're so lonely. They'll be so lonely they could die.